Just this week, two high-profile money laundering scandals hit Swiss at Credit Suisse and Hayplot's crypto hacker from Russia who closed 4.5 billion. In this article, we'll look into nuisances of turning dirty money into clean, and we'll mock those who didn't do so well. How to launder money, step-by-step instructions. Anyone who has decided to devote his life to difficult work of illegally stealing other people's money knows it is not enough to earn though. You must also make it so that you can spend it in peace, and preferably so that you don't get anything for it. This problem reached industrial proportions with the rise of organized crime, just as prohibition was being introduced in the United States. A.I. Capone is said to have been the first to literally invent money laundering. He ran all the process from the illegal sale of booze through his network business, including of course laundromats, traditionally associated with the acceptance of many small cash payments. How many customers came and exact how they paid was impossible to verify. Modern methods of money laundering usually distinguish three stages. First, placement. Illegal money has to be somehow introduced into the legal financing system, and in such ways that nobody has a desire to start an additional check of these strange operations. More often than not, that is achieved by breaking a huge pile of cash into many small transactions for depositing modest dough into the bank, so that no one gets excited for nothing. This stage is also known among professional bankers as smurfing. It is said that smurfs among meth addicts were crowds of ordinary hamsters who went to buy precursor of making meth in various places in small quantities, so as not to attract undue attention, and from there the other respectable people picked them up. Second, layer. Actually, as the name of the stage allots, it is necessary to superimpose one on the other as much as possible different operations of money flow from one aggregate state to another. The more convoluted the path of money is, the better it is necessary that it is absolutely impossible to determine its real source without a bottle. In particular, the purchase and sale of art objects comes in handy here. The inspectors come and ask you where did the money come from, and you answer them, well, I bought a painting by unknown artist, and a year later it suddenly went up in price 100 times, and I sold it. Comrade Major, it's not someone sneezed paint on the canvas, it's a modern art, you have to understand. Third, integration. Finally, the money cleared, all the traces of criminal activity must somehow get back into your account in some seemingly legal way. That is, if you bought the picture sneeze of TB Man, you should sell it to an anonymous buyer for 10 times more expensive, or alternatively go to the right casino and win a large sum of money. The main thing is to get stamped certificate. Taking money offshore. This is where a smurf wrestler comes in handy. Every other Hollywood movie about dubious guys have a scene where the bad guys are trying to take the honestly looted cash away from the chastening hand of Themis. For example, in a Swiss bank. Stealing in one country and laundering and storing in another is logical, because then the ability to investigate authorities in home country to expropriate the loot would be severely limited. Although even in Swiss bank, you are unlikely to receive bales of dirty cash without unnecessary questions. The other day, there was news that prosecutors had indicated Credit Suisse, Switzerland's largest private bank, for aiding and abetting the laundering of more than 150 million. Credit Suisse had a lot of bad luck lately, losing billions in dollars in the Greensill and Archegos scandals last year. The spice of the situation is added by the fact that suitcases with money, €500,000 each, were regularly bought to Zurich by a former Bulgarian wrestler who successfully, well how, retained as a cocaine smurf. However, the amateurish invaders of a former Bulgarian athletes pale in comparison to the scale of thought that are Russian well-to-do people. In 2014, an investigation was published into a scam that went down in history as the Russian laundromat. They've already laundered over $20 billion here, and the money was initially funneled through Moldovan and Latvian banks, and then spread out to as many as 96 countries. In addition to the dubious Eastern European banks, such respectable guys as Deutsche Bank, Barclays, HSBC, and many others got a little dirty in all of this. The scheme was as follows. Supposedly, a loan agreement was concluded between two foreign companies, and the Russian company and the Moldovan citizen acted as guarantor. Then one of the parties suddenly could not pay off his debt, and a fair Moldovan court would charge the entire amount from the Russian company to a local bank account. Curiously enough, the amount thus siphoned off from Russia over 4 years is roughly equal to the entire volume of Moldova's GDP over the same period. At the end of all this, only the Moldovan citizen named Vyacheslav Platon was put in jail for 18 years, while the guys from the Federal Security Service of Russia, who as they say were also a little involved, for some reason did not get any complaints, and Mr. Platon himself was suddenly released from prison after 3 years, waited until he went to London and laid low, then he was put on the wanted list again, so main thing in money laundering is not to forget to share it with the right people in time. Modern problems require modern solutions, Bitcoin and NFT. If you think that smurfing dirty dough in your suitcase in some kind of stone age, you're absolutely right. Fortunately, there are plenty of modern high-tech cash laundering options out there right now. NFT, for example, in a way the whole balonary of buying contemporary art at the specialty shows is not so relevant anymore. Why go somewhere in person if you can just buy and resell for a few $1,000,000 some pixelated doll monkey with a couple of clicks? On the other hand, laundering stolen crypto creates a whole new type of problem. The other day's news broke about the arrest of Russian Liechtenstein and his wife Heather Morgan on charge of trying to launder $4.5 billion in bitcoins that were stolen by hackers from the banned-fixed crypto exchange in 2016. If you're wondering how people with a fortune of several $billion spend their time in the crypto, here you go. Ilya is mutating some software startups, and Heather is professional with ultra crunchy rap music that can instantly restore your faith in the musical abilities of Russian rappers. In an attempt to legalize stolen crypto, Ilya and Heather tried to chase it back and forth between different crypto exchanges from different accounts. Oddly enough, even those institutions have AML checks, so in some places their accounts were froze, and somewhere they had to lie that the proceeds were payment from clients of Heather's copywriting service businesses, which turned out pretty obvious lie. After all, any Bitcoin transactions are available on the public blockchain, so it's not very hard to trace their origins. Yes, of course, Bitcoin provides anonymity and all, but only up to the point where you don't need to return the funds to the standard financial system, and then it turns out that the public list of all transactions makes it easy enough to take you by the casual price. And the separate LOL is how FBI without any difficulty got access to all crypto purses of Sweet Couple, because the password to all 1,000 accounts were neatly written in Excel on the cloud storage Ilya. How is that? Because everyone knows that you should not write down your password, but instead remember the 12 simple words from the side face. To really protect your wallet from the invaders. Well, in life it usually turns out something like this. If 3 letters AML don't terrify you, you probably should. I assume that up to this point you have read the article good naturedly laughing at the problems of hopeless hackers and greedy oligarchs, but in fact the fight against money laundering can make life difficult for ordinary people like you and me. Developed countries over time are increasingly tightening their regulations on AML. So often banks and brokers prefer to blow on the water so they don't want to be sued later. For example, in 2020, the US regulator FIN charged the popular broker Interactive Brokers $15 million for deficits in the AML control system. After that, the IB began to tighten the screw systematically, increasing the claiming clients for improper residency or simply offering to pay enhanced verification. So even if you are not an oligarch, I recommend you get the habit of carefully putting in the separate folder all the income you receive, regardless of how old they are, beginning with 2 NDFL certificate from work and ending with contracts for the purchase and sale of the property and brokers reports confirming the fabulous profits you managed to trade.